All right, game one in the first match. GLHF to the opponent. Very nice of them. Let's see how these tweaks affect the deck, and let's hopefully get another trophy. That would be very nice. Of course, this hand is not going to deliver those kind of results. I hate to say. There's nothing much to say here. There's no land and absolutely nothing to do. Yeah, this is going to be a keep, and hopefully this isn't one of these situations where I don't really have anything to reveal with Silvergill Adept, but I can play Smuggler's Copter or Spreading Seas on turn 2. I have Repeal for some board manipulation. Repeal is at its best with Aether Vial, but let's see, because it can still kind of be good even without it, depending on how the things go. So let's see how this goes. I do like this. Considering I've got no Lords yet, I think I'm actually going to ditch an island. This could end up being a problem, but if I do draw a Lord, most likely I'm going to want to play Silvergill Adept first, and I'll probably draw into another Lord at some point. The opponent mulls to 5, which is good for us since we had to mull to 6. So, always unfortunate for us whenever we have to mulligan and the opponent is mulliganing to 5. That being said, I have a feeling this player is on Tron, in which case it's pretty good that we have Spreading Seas. Yeah, I have a feeling I recognize this player's name. And also, generally, Tron players mulligan more aggressively, and I think rightfully so. I think it's generally newer Tron players that'll keep a 7-card hand that has very little or no chance of actually hitting Tron on turn 3. The better ones, I think, generally will they'll mulligan more aggressively to ensure that they can get Tron on turn 3. So I led on Island. There's not necessarily a lot of reason to do that, but I think one of the main reasons why is that it camouflages my what exactly I'm on a little bit more. Most likely, if I played my opponent before, which I'm guessing I have, and well, maybe not. They're not on Tron like I thought they were, but maybe I had a big mana inkling. But yeah, so just a little extra value, and I'm almost certainly going to play either Spreading Seas or Smuggler's Copter last turn, so I didn't see too much downside in leading with Island. It is actually always good to even think about which land you lead off with in this deck. So I could play Chalice, but I think I'm actually going to wait and play Chalice on 0, because this looks like it's Titan, and a lot of times, this is better than Force of Negation, because a lot of times Force of Negation is basically just hitting Summoner's Pact anyway, and this one copy will deal with both Smuggler's Copter, with a Summoner's Pact, and with any additional copies they might have. So that can be good. Back in the day, back when Amulet players used to play a lot of 1-drops, more than just Amulet. Back when they used to play Serum Visions and Ancient Stirrings and a lot of these other cards, back then, Chalice on 1 was actually really good. Here, not as much, although here specifically, if I knew they had Amulet of Vigor, which they could have had because this came into play tap last turn, then Chalice could have been good here too. But I still think it's correct to play Chalice on 0. I think I end up winning more games by keeping them off Titan rather than trying to slow them down, and that's all that countering Amulet of Vigor really does. However, though, it will also enable me to cycle if I take this line. So there is that. What I think I'm actually going to do, though, is I think I'm going to repeal without playing Chalice first. I'm still going to try to play Chalice on 0, but I need to draw into lands, and there isn't a particularly good target for Spreading Seas yet. They can just bounce these with their Karoo lands, the lands that return lands when they come into play. Ideally, I want to hit one of those, because even though they can bounce one of those with another Karoo land, at least it takes them off of 2 mana for 1 turn, and it forces them to have to bounce a land that itself will force them to bounce another land, so it slows them down a bit more. So I did this on my turn because I was hoping to draw a land. Didn't happen, but at least I will be able to start crewing Smuggler's Copter next turn with Silvergill Adept, most likely. Yeah, that seems like... okay. Well, this is where I play Chalice, and I think I just have to hope for the best. So I am going to... I'm actually going to try to attack first. Ideally, I'd like to play my Vial here, but, you know, I think I've got to try to be a little risky, so to speak. There could have been some merit to trying to go for Spreading Seas, but realistically, if they drop Titan, I mean, realistically, the odds that I can keep them off of Titan from hitting a green source are pretty low. And, you know, hitting one of these lands like Valakut or something, you know, realistically, if a Titan comes into play, I'm probably, the game's probably over anyway. So, I'm going to ditch Repeal here. I think the Spreading Seas have a bit more utility in this matchup specifically. I will be able to play the Aether Vial, and I will be sure to play the Chalice on 0. I'm going to lead with the Aether Vial just in case. I mean, well, there's actually 0 chance they'd Pactum Negation this. But yeah, we'll see. I doubt the pact. Interesting enough, they do have Pactum Negation, or Summoner's Pact, I guess, as an option in response. So, okay. The good news is actually, if I draw a Dismember, and yeah, if I can take them off of green mana, and I can draw a Dismember so that their Dryad doesn't produce green mana, then they actually lose on their turn from Summoner's Pact. So it kind of could be seen as a misplay not to play Chalice earlier, but this might actually end up working. And of course, you know, if they do have an extra green source, they don't have Titan with this Sakura Tribe Scout. And of course, I will be able to crew Smuggler's Copter. So let's oh yeah, actually I guess I can't take them off of green mana and play Dismember, given that I only had 3 lands. Well, what I can do though is I can take them off of Valakut. Actually, I can't take them off of green mana. I think that's worth a try. If I hit the castle too, then they only have 4 mana, and they would actually need 2 more green sources in order to activate it. So actually, I think castle is the pretty easy choice here. Yeah, unfortunately, no Dismember yet. I can actually crew, get one more redraw, so to speak. And that would be very nice. Oh, well, is this going to be an instant win? We shall see. I guess I will keep the Lord, because I do technically have Island Walk. They could bounce it at any time, but they've probably got Titan as their last card. I am going to ditch the Silvergill Adept. I am going to play the Dismember, and hopefully that is good game, because they actually do not have access to green mana on their turn. Oh, what am I saying? They already played the Summoner's Pact. I still think that was correct though, because they they could start Valakuting relatively soon, and they can't do that if Dryad is off the table. So they could naturally play Titan if they had Titan in hand and draw one more green source. But Dryad is nice in a way because it doesn't actually produce extra mana. and I can take them off of their other green source. So, you know, believe it or not, this game is actually not going half bad. Surprising for not having any main deck counter magic. But, you know, that's the thing about Merfolk, is sometimes it wins kind of surprisingly in these type of spots. I almost wonder if they've got another... Oh yeah, of course they've got a Titan, because they showed it to us when they searched with the Summoner's Pact. So, you know, to play Chalice on 1 here, or not? I think that does just make sense. Well, I think I'll crew Smuggler's Copter first. And, you know, maybe just for max damage, get the Lord in here. Yeah, and I could attack with the Mutavault too, but let's see what I draw first. Yeah, I actually think playing the Mutavault is just a better value probably overall. Although that does make it so that I wish I would have attacked, but what can you do? Yeah, this sets me up for a potentially humongous turn next turn. So the only thing though is I haven't really taken them off green actually, because they have 2 islands, but they actually the rest of their lands produce green. So I think we're hoping to fade one land draw. In my experience, they always draw it. Yeah, they'll always draw exactly what they need. So kind of a preemptively helps me preemptively be less tilted, because whenever they need to draw like one specific card, in my experience, of course land is the most likely card to draw, but it's really almost always been Titan as much too. When they need to draw Titan, generally they always draw the Titan, and when they need to draw the land, they always draw the land. So that's just how it goes. You know, at least that's how it feels. It's probably not the case, but you know, um, definitely seems like the majority of time that's how it goes. So the problem here, of course, is Valakut can deal with my Lord. At least in theory, I could tap down Primeval Titan next turn. Oh, but they're going to be able to untap their lands with Amulet. Yeah, well, this would have been a lost cause anyway, even if I kept Trickster up. So, yeah, they get the Valakut triggers because all their lands are mountain because of Dryad. Kind of fortunate for them that they drew Dryad first and then Primeval Titan, but you know, realistically, they probably would have gotten there with just the Titan and Field of the Dead. So Merfolk Trickster is definitely nice in this matchup. I don't think Spreading Seas does enough, and they do have their own islands anyway. Dealing with Dryad doesn't seem necessary. Yeah, actually, last game probably was too cute to hold on to Chalice as long as I did. One reason why I do that though is that I don't want to expose it to an early engineered explosives. There is actually a very good reason for me doing that. But the trick is, and it's kind of been a while since I played this matchup, is you don't want to play it like immediately, but you want to wait until they can't search for something and pay the upkeep. So, but I think there's a decent chance we can still get games 2 and 3. I think Chalice of the Void is better than Force of Negation, because most of the time, like I said before, Force of Negation is going to be countering um, Summoner's Pact. Excuse me if I've been calling it Pact of Negation, but and Pact of Negation if they bring it in. Plus, on one it can counter Veil of Summer, which they do seem to bring in. I think the rest of the deck is kind of necessary for applying pressure. Although actually, now that I think about it, Repeal is not really that good in this matchup. So then the question is Force of Negation or Dismember. I'm going to say Force of Negation, just being able to deal with Engineered Explosives, or a Summoner's Pact if I don't have Chalice. You know, I could be wrong, but I just think, you know, most of the time I'm not going to win by keeping them off of by mana screwing them or color screwing them, and yeah, and most of the time I just need to deal with the Titan. I can't really I won't really win by just slowing them down by hitting their Dryad. This could be wrong, but you know, we'll see. Well, I did draw both of my Horizon lands, but this is not probably going to be one of those matches where that's going to matter. So I am going to keep this, and you know, this is one of the advantages to Force Negation. I feel much safer about keeping this than keeping the same type of hand with Dismember, because this does actually have the possibility of keeping my opponent off Titan. It does kind of feel like whenever I have a Chalice or a Force, they typically just have Titan naturally. But the good news is, even if I had a regular counterspell, this Cavern of Souls would have prevented that anyway. This is one of the most frustrating things about this matchup is that the red decks are just a little bit. They could have a little bit of a problem just because they do ramp so quickly. This particular version though is a little bit softer to red decks because it's not playing the Grazer, the 0/3 that puts a land into play as soon as it comes into play. They're playing Sakura Tribe Scout. But yeah, it's actually funny. Whenever I'm playing Merfolk, it always feels like they're playing the Scout version, which is red decks have a better shot against. And whenever I'm playing red decks, it always feels like they're playing the Grazer version. But you know, it's probably just psychological how it goes. Well, the good news is we're very set up to dealing with Summoner's Pact. I think. Yeah, I think I just need to start drawing cards. I may want to play it on one, so I'm not going to run it out immediately. The reason why I may want to run it out at one is because it does shut off Veil of Summer. But it probably makes more sense to just play it on 0, and then maybe Force Negation a Veil of Summer. I guess 2 Force Negations don't really do all that much. And I do need to hit my land drops. So there is some merit to playing it now because, I mean, they could in theory pay the upkeep even if I do play it on 0 now, but, you know. Yeah, I'm just going to play it on 0 now. And, you know, the reason why is that it does, if they have Summoner's Pact, you know, I think it's probably worse for them the sooner I have to force them to use it. And I could always use Force Negation to counter a Veil of Summer. And that's really kind of the only one drop that I'm actually that worried about. Of course, them having Natural Titan could be the biggest issue here. I do have Aether Gust, though, if I develop enough of a board presence. Aether Gust, you know, putting Titan on top could be good. Yeah, and this is why why I played this the way I did. Definitely want to be able to force negate this. Now they might veil me, which would be unfortunate. I'm a little surprised that they're playing this instead of veil. I don't know, maybe they're playing both, but well, I do think I need to have some protection against Summoner's Pact. It just so happens that I think both Merfolk. This is one of the few decks that I think both Merfolk and mono red strategies tend to be a little bit soft to. I'm very curious what decks aren't soft to this deck, though. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but this deck feels incredibly powerful. Could play the Trickster now for max damage, but it doesn't seem right. You know, they could blow this up if they have an untapped land, but it's only a 2-for-1. Could be worse. The hope here is that the Chalice is turning off a bunch of Summoner's Pacts they have, which, you know, maybe it is. Maybe I shouldn't have hesitated there, because it could have been a nice chump attack if they're not used to Merfolk Trickster. Well, they had Natural Titan, so yeah, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, maybe it's just me, but I've generally, this is one deck that I've never done that particularly well against when playing either deck I play. It always feels like they always have what they need, and you know, I'm sure there's something I'm missing. Definitely if anybody has any insight, it's appreciated. But it honestly, from my side, somehow I haven't been able to really approach this deck. I was actually able to handle them, believe it or not, quite fine back in the days when they were on you know, the old builds with the Serum Visions and Ancient Stirrings. Maybe because Chalice did a lot more work against them back then. But these new versions that you would think would be less consistent, interestingly enough, they still always seem to have Titan and even Natural Titan when they need it. So, well, I have to dig towards, like, I don't even know. The reality is this is over. I don't even have Brazen Borrower to bounce Primeval Titan, but, you know, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to cleanly counter it because of the Cavern. I think there's some EV to just minimize my frustration and just try to do better next game. All right, well, let's hopefully not run into more Titan matches.